If you were to ask for the best pet in existence, a ball python would unquestionably grace that list. Not just for their docile and easy to keep nature, but also for the immense variety of their mesmerizing designs, validly known as morphs. Amidst these millions of possible morph combos lies our protagonist today, the stunning recessive trait, Ultramel. At first glance, you'll notice the Ultramel's lighter hue compared to a normal ball python, yet it retains a richer tone than an albino. This unique color palette is due to a reduction in melanin, a phenomenon we refer to as hypomelanism.
Ball pythons boast a variety of hypomelanistic morphs, each with its own distinct features, but we'll dive deeper into that shortly. Starting with the head, prominently displayed is an orange head stamp. This is overlaid on a base hue of lilac that forms the crown. Transitioning to the body, there are distinct regions of blushing, which are heavier in some portions than others. Overlaying the lilac base, there's an observable pattern resembling a puzzle. Lastly, the tail. While it bears resemblance to a normal ball python in terms of structure, the color differentiation is evident.
Now, let's take a look at some outstanding Ultramel combos. First, I'd like to show you the final product. Then I'll break it down into simpler combos so that we can more easily observe the differences when new genes are added. The first snake we're looking at is this Orange Dream Leopard Spotnose Pustavi Hypo Ultramel Head Clown. Let's ignore the head clown part for now and look at all the other genes. For such a snake that has so many genes in it, every gene is working together so well. First, you can see the Ultramel making the base coloration and the Hypo making the frosted look. On the other hand, Orange Dream, Leopard, and Spotnose, they concentrate the pattern into dot-like patterns. Finally, the Mojave working with Leopard and Orange Dream creates this stripy base for these dotted patterns. If you're a nerd like me, you might be interested in how many visually different combos I can make with all these genes.
For incomplete dominance, there are 3 distinct visual possibilities. Dominant genes, on the other hand, present us with 2. That's because whether you have 1 or 2 copies, known as heterozygous and homozygous forms, the visual outcome remains the same. Now, let's not forget our recessive genes. They too yield 2 possible visuals, stemming from a similar genetic rationale. With a sprinkle of mathematical alchemy, this translates to a staggering 648 potential combos.
Clearly, it's unfeasible to showcase every single combination, easily as some remain uncharted territory. But as we journey through this genetic maze, I'll spotlight the most significant and fascinating sub-combos. Let's start with 2 genes. First, the coloration is basic Ultramel coloration. Orange Dream made it slightly more orange as its name suggests, but more importantly, it concentrates the pattern of the snake from the side towards the center. Next up, we have our Leopard Ultramel. Similarly, Leopard, like OD, also concentrates the pattern, but in a very wild manner. The pattern is more liquid-like and connected. Next, we have Spotnose Ultramel. Spotnose also works with the pattern, but in a very different way. It makes pattern thinner, and when combined with genes like Leopard or NG, makes crazy head stamps, which we'll see later. Pastel Ultramel. Pastel works wonderfully if you're trying to make a more bright yellow Ultramel. You can also tell the presence of pastel by the blushed head and pattern. Mojave Ultramel. So Mojave does 2 things. One, it creates this more connected, striping kind of chocolate base pattern on its dorsal. And secondly, it turns Ultramel's coloration into a more brownish, less saturated coloration. In my opinion, Mojave is the key gene that creates our final product's overall look. And next, a beautiful double recessive Ultramel Hypo. Hypo is such a great gene. It makes everything brighter and making a flat pant type of look. Now, let's add a little bit more genes. The OD leopard ultramel. As we've mentioned earlier, OD and leopard, they both concentrate the pattern, but they work in different ways. So in this combo, you can actually see not only the pattern is reduced and concentrated, but you can also see that these two genes are actually fighting each other in some way. So OD is not showing as much of its patterning, and leopard is showing more of its patterning. But as we move along and add more genes, you'll see that OD leopard makes a great base if you want to really concentrate and make a thick and stripy pattern. Speaking of pattern concentration, let's add spot nose to the mix. Now, the pattern is even more concentrated, becoming dot-like, but these dots are still aligned on the stripy track that is created by OD and leopard. Also, if you remember earlier, we talked about the head stem effect of spot nose. You can clearly see that here, as a result of the interaction of spot nose and leopard. Now, let's move away from OD and spot nose and look at this leopard Mojave Ultramel. These three genes work hand in hand in this combo. You can easily see each gene doing its thing. Leopard making crazy patterns, Mojave broadening the dark patterns, shifting the hue, and of course, Ultramel creating that basic coloration. Balance is the word, and balance is the best quality in a good morph design. Now, before we go to the final product, let's see what actually creates the basic pattern logic for the final product. This is the Leopard Mojave OD Pastel. If you still remember how the final product looks like, now you can understand how the stripe parts are created in that combo. And you can also understand what happens if you add spot nose to this Leopard Mojave OD Pastel. The freckling dots is the result. However, I couldn't find a picture of a spot-nosed leopard Mojave OD pastel, but I think with the final product at hand, it's not hard to imagine what it would look like without Hypo and Ultramel, since they mainly just changed the colors. The next final product I'm about to show you is one of the, if not the best creation of all 2023, made by 100 pythons, a Hypo Ultramel clown pied. I mean, just look at that thing on the right. Could you imagine a better purple and yellow combination on a pied? I cannot. And again, let's break it down into simpler combos so we can see the difference between each gene. First, let's look at a Ultramel clown. On first sight, you can see a very distinct orange that is popping out. That is because clown not only is a pattern morph, it is also an orange morph. And coupling it up with Ultramel creates this really bursting orange snake. Incredible combination. Next, we have the Ultramel pied. You can see without the clown, the orange isn't so intense, but this is still a very beautiful snake. Next up, we have the clown pied. The clown pied is something that I have mixed feelings for, because some of these clown pies pattern can be really reduced, and as it grows up, it becomes this white and brown snake, which I'm not really a big fan of, but you can still make clown pies with a lot of pattern, and those are great. But still, when it grows up, it turns a little bit brown. So for me, clown pies are more like a passage to something greater. And next we can have a Hypo clown. Well, this is a absolutely beautiful snake because the Hypo actually takes away the melanin and makes the back stripe of a clown kind of this purplish, very beautiful frosty look. And of course, we can have a Hypo pied. As you can see, the Hypo pied also intensifies the orange. So think about it. If you have Hypo, you have clown, and you have Ultramel, and both Hypo and Ultramel creates a purple look to dark parts. So when you mix all these things together, on the left hand side, I suppose this is an Ultramel clown pied without the Hypo, and on the right hand side is the one with Hypo. Just take another look at this crazy snake. This is definitely a pedestal. On that note, let's talk about some more details about Ultramel. While its name might suggest a connection to ultramelanistic, the actual genetic phenomenon at work is called hypomelanism. In humans, defects in melanin production birth a condition called albinism, technically termed oculocutaneous albinism. The spectrum of albinism in human varies from severe to quite mild, contingent on the genetic trigger. And specifically, Ultramel is being controlled by the gene TYRP1. This gene, pivotal for melanin synthesis, is the catalyst behind the Ultramel morph.
Mutations in TYRP1 produce a unique form of albinism characterized by reddish hair. This mirrors the subtle difference we observe between the Ultramel color morph and its albino and lavender albino counterparts. A bit of a history lesson for you: the Ultramel made its debut in the herpetological world thanks to the efforts of Mark Bell, somewhere in the twilight of the 90s. As I've mentioned earlier, there are several hypomelanistic morphs in ball python, and one of them is caramel. Ernie Wagner introduced the world to a unique ball python he fondly named the caramel ball. As more imports from breeders like VPI, Nerd, and Bell made their appearance, any that bore resemblance to Ernie's specimen were umbrellaed under the caramel balls moniker. In a twist of fate, Wagner's original snake met its end before its genetic potential could be fully explored. Some of its hets, which are offsprings carrying the gene without expressing it, were sent to Mark Bell. But breeding experiments with Bell's male caramel didn't yield the expected results. The morph Wagner had showcased was on the verge of being a forgotten page in ball python history, largely because it seemed incompatible with known lines. But from its shadows emerged the Kreider lineage, thanks to some of those original hets. Another twist? Vin Russo, one of the breeders, unwittingly bred his male het caramel, which also carried the mysterious other morph from Wagner. When Russo began producing caramels, unusual morphs surfaced, morphs like the now famed Kreider balls and the rare 1 in 16 Camarillo. Kreider is now known as another line-bred Ultramel, and Camarillo is the double recessive caramel Ultramel.
Drawing connections, we've noted some related traits. The monarch is suspected to be linked. Could the two morphs be alleles to each other? Only time can tell. Well, that's a wrap on our dive into the fascinating world of Ultramel. If you've enjoyed this journey as much as I have, or if you learned something new today, please consider giving that subscribe button a little love. Your support fuels our passion to bring more in-depth content like this. And trust me, there's a whole lot more to explore. Curious about another morph? Got questions about Python genetics? Or perhaps a story of your own pet snake? Drop these thoughts and stories in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. For our Chinese-speaking friends, if you're looking for additional content tailored for you, do consider joining our Patreon. We've got exclusive content and special surprises waiting for you there. It's always a pleasure sharing my passion and knowledge with all of you. This is Edward, signing off. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, nature never ceases to amaze.